I've been a bit of a hypocrite. I've said that I don't need any more music. I'm happy with my lot. I'm happy with all those CDs back there. I'm happy with the records I've got. Even a few of the singles. Hell, even a couple of cassettes. I don't need any more. Need, want, temptation is a different thing. I've ended up with all this. I know. Oh dear. At least it didn't cost me that much. Anyway, this is going to be a lowdown of what all that stuff is. A lot of singles in here, because the joy of singles is one that I've only really found recently. I've very much always been an album man, but there's something to get from a single. The B-side, that non-album B-side that you haven't heard before. The artwork, the great artwork of the CD, sure, but the single, almost like a small album, something different to the full vinyl album. And you know what, we've already paid for these. It's fine. I can live with it. Singles, a little bit like CDs. There is one CD at the front of this. Singles, a little bit like CDs. They don't take up that much room, do they? Whereas if I'd bought 26 albums, I'd have been scratching my head going, oh God, I haven't got enough room as it is. If I swiddle around slightly, you can see there's some albums back there. There's some to the side. There are albums everywhere. So, it could have been a bit dangerous had I bought any more. But let's get straight into it. I was going to do this as a short, but I just got too much to say, so you might well fall asleep, you might well switch off, because I talk about such a range of music that's in this little collection that I've bought yesterday. But hopefully you'll go on to enjoy. But if you do fall asleep, make sure to keep the video running, because it all helps with the watch time. Right, let's get straight into it before I bore you all too much. Let's set the scene first off. Yesterday, I think, Thursday the 30th of April, already through the first third of the year. Probably the hottest day of the year. I would say it definitely was the hottest day of the year. So I went for a very nice walk, not particularly a local town, about 20 odd miles away. I was over there for another reason. And on the afternoon, I always love going to this charity slash record shop. And I call it a charity slash record shop because it is a charity shop, but it is by far the best organised charity shop I've ever seen. It's a bookshop at heart, really, but there's books, hobbies, interests, all sorts of stuff, jigsaws, games, and they've got a full record room. I might put over the top of this what that record room looked like, and I thought, oh God, I might be in here for a while. I do go over there every couple of months. The last time I went in, I very much just had a quick scan through the CDs, couldn't find anything, that was it. I did find one CD. In fact, I found a few and put a few of them back thinking, no, I don't really need this. This one is a good placeholder. Placeholder, that's not the word, is it really? A good slot in the collection. Fills an empty slot that I hadn't got before. Too Hot to Handle, the very best of UFO, a 2 CD. I haven't listened to a lot of UFO stuff. I think I probably like it. I've got a couple of their albums. I've got Obsession. No, I haven't. Yes, I have. I'm thinking it's Phenomenon. No, it's not. I've got Obsession, Lights Out, No Place to Run, and The Strangers in the Night live album. But I haven't got anything on CD. This is a double disc CD. 19 tracks on disc 1, 18 tracks on disc 2. I don't know a lot by UFO. Rock Bottom is an absolute killer song. I'm looking forward to going through this, and as you can see, only £1.50. All of the CDs in this shop are all £1.50, so you know exactly where it stands. A nice slipcase. Get the CDs out. I am a little bit concerned in some ways because there are some scratches on the discs, but for the price point, I thought I'll take the chance. There were a couple of other things I looked at, but they were really badly scratched, so I thought, not that. So that's a good start. That's a good CD. Tick in the box. So, let's get on to the vinyl. The 26 singles that I've got here. And stay around till the end because there will be 2 surprises at the end. But don't be crafty and skip through all the old things to get to the end. Right, here we go. Let's try and keep this as short and sweet as possible. It was going to be a short, but there's no way I could have condensed this all into 3 minutes. Aha, The Sun Always Shines on TV. Now, Take On Me was the biggest song, I think. Take On Me very much had the majority of the cultural influence. But this one's always been my favourite. I don't know a lot by Aha. This was one of these, and I was going to talk about this in another video. Does anybody remember, was it Skidvid? What was it in the 2000s? It was almost like a blue thing that came up before the start of the video, and then it would start in the very early YouTube days. This, Sowing the Seeds of Love, Tears for Fears were a couple I remember. I remember I uploaded a video on a very early channel of So What by Pink, and I was like, yay, I've got views, and then my channel got took down. But this, oh, I've gone out of focus. This, when the beat drops on this, it's just brilliant synth. And another great thing about these singles as well is that, unlike CD, you've got this brilliant, it's an almost maybe distorted sound, but you can play these really loud and still hear them, much to the disdain of everybody else in the house. So that's Aha, The Sun Shines on TV. We've got Driftwood on the B-side. Don't know that one. Don't know a lot about Aha outside of these two. Cry Wolf and The Living Daylights, the Bond theme, of course. Next up, see, this is a difference, isn't it? This just proves how different the 70s and 80s were. There's a Kind of Hush all over the world by Carpenters. Got a few Carpenters singles. On the B-side, you've got I'm Caught Between Goodbye and I Love You. This is from the There's a Kind of Hush album. I was going to say Horizon. It's not. It's from the self-titled album. The only album I haven't got in the Carpenters collection, so this almost fills a bit of a gap. Nice to have the Carpenters collection as well on 7-inch vinyl, even though I've got it on, most of it on vinyl, a couple of CDs. But I like the Carpenters singles. There's a couple of artists, Carpenters, Elvis, Roy Orbison, just like to collect their singles. Nice little cheap hobby, as you'll see. How about the Cars We Drive? Again, not another group that I don't really know. Taken from the LP, Heartbreak City, produced by good old Mutt and the Cars. Stranger Eyes on side B, was that one from the album as well? Yeah, from the album Heartbreak City. What a track. This one was one I found on a... was it like an American Anthem CD or something along those lines? I think it was. About 10, 12 years ago. The other nice thing with this, which hasn't been on the first two, got a nice picture sleeve with the guys on the front. Love this about 7-inch vinyl. Unfortunately, this next one isn't one that this is the case for. It did originally appear in a picture sleeve, but that's been lost over the years. Arthur's Theme, The Best That You Can Do, one that I picked up from Smooth Radio. I need to do a video about that. I spent a good 12 months locked in with Smooth Radio, forced, because, well, I'll tell you about that in the other video. But I had to listen to Smooth Radio for 12 years. And 12 years? No, 12 months. And this was one that was in regular heavy rotation on that channel. And one that I grew to very much like. So Arthur's Theme by Chris Cross. Ooh, this next one. I'm not in this for the value or anything. Monetary value, reselling, don't care. I just want this all for my own collection. But I thought this was a real good find. And how good it was a find, I didn't actually realise until I looked at how much this was worth. The late, great Chris Rea. Driving Home for Christmas. And you might be able to see, just in little writing, the Christmas EP. So we got Driving Home for Christmas, Footsteps in the Snow, which I think is an instrumental, and then Joys of Christmas and Smile on the B-side. I have an idea. I'm going to trot over to go and get my Dancing with Strangers Deluxe Edition. Here it is, a prop I didn't get before starting the video. My Deluxe Edition, because I think you've got Smile from the Christmas EP, Footsteps in the Snow. So they're both on here. Joys of Christmas obviously is on the album itself. So I've got all this on there. But it almost feels like a little bit of a difference to have this as an EP. Anyway, I digress about the whole Dancing with Strangers thing. Really good album. Oh, poor old Chris, eh? This one is worth quite a bit. I was really surprised. Minimum on Discogs, it's a tenner. Now, I think mine would very much fall into the minimum category. The sleeve's all gone. You probably won't see it. It probably might be a bit better having a bit of cleaning. I don't think you're going to be able to see it on the video. This is quite heavily scratched. But I find with singles as opposed to LPs, scratches aren't as bad necessarily for skipping, etc. Maybe we can glue the sleeve back together and that might help things a bit. But I'm definitely not going to sell it, but a really good find to add to my Chris Rea collection. What about Christmas songs? But Christmas songs that aren't just played at Christmas for me. One of my favourites. Maybe my favourite Christmas song, along with Greg Lake's I Believe in Father Christmas. David Essex with A Winter's Tale. This one, you don't need to play this. I mean, it's a nice one at Christmas. But it's a nice cosy song. Almost a depressing song, really. But written by Mike Batt and Tim Rice. You've got Verity on the B-side. Not one I know. Again, David Essex is one of those that I know a few of his songs. In fact, I got about 3/4 through his autobiography on the nice silver labels there, Mercury. Got about 3 parts through the autobiography and then ditched it. Not intentionally, it wasn't I wasn't enjoying it. I just didn't read for a bit. Could do with getting back into that, really. Right, I mentioned Elvis earlier, and this is also a bit of a find for a couple of reasons. The old gold label, really nice condition of the sleeve. In its original old gold sleeve, or an A original, old gold sleeve. My Boy on the A side. One of Elvis's better 70s tracks, I think. And then I might do a separate video about Elvis covers that are just great. And My Way, I think he's one of those. Really good. Elvis could sing most things. I mean, he did sing Old MacDonald Had a Farm and made that sound half good. There's a lot of value for me in these singles. Might not be for you. You might have gone to sleep by now. But there's a lot of value for me in these singles, so I'm chuffed I picked these up, actually. Right, next we have 1, 2, 3 singles by one of this nation's most underappreciated songwriters. One that I have talked about, plan to talk about more. I've only really scratched the surface with, I think. And that is Gilbert O'Sullivan. Now, these, all three of them, are non-album singles, which I find quite exciting. So this first one is No Matter How I Try from 71. On the B-side is If I Don't Get You Back Again, which was on the Himself album, so looking forward to listening to that. And then these two, now don't worry, I have got some, what would you call it, things to put in the middle of these that have got the knockout centres. You Are You, and Tell Me Why on the B-side. This one and the next one, which is I Don't Love You, But I Think I Like You, with That's a Fact on the B-side. I'm actually, before I put these on video, I am checking, because I have got one single, which I'm not going to show, not of these, but one that I acquired from a job lot, which has got some quite disturbing language on it. Imagine being back in the 70s, late 60s actually. I did study this particular person in history and a Rivers of Blood speech. I think that's what the speech was called. Not going to mention the chap. But you might guess what the sort of words were on that cover. Fortunately, none of that here. Bit of a complete... I didn't expect to be going there. It was just seeing those words on the... I think it's... What is it? No Want She Get? Maybe like a reggae song. But anyway, that's not that. I Don't Love You, But I Think I Like You, and That's a Fact on the B-side. These were released after A Stranger in My Own Backyard, which is an album I couldn't really get into. Shame, because I like all three of the first three Gilbert albums, so I couldn't get into that one. Right, a bit of rock and roll. Crooner, if you like. I think this is spelt wrong. Another old gold, but not in an original sleeve, unfortunately. Great A-side and B-side here. Bit of 50s joy. Yes Tonight Josephine by Johnny Ray. And if I switch it round and the record falls out. Just Walking in the Rain. Classic. Classic on both. That's what I look for sometimes, particularly with these 50s ones. If you're getting a good A-side and a B-side, you're really getting a good bang for your buck. Another group that, particularly from their debut, I'd like to collect all of them. I think I've only got one before this. I think I've only got Heart of Gold. I talked about this album a few months ago. This is the title track, Turn Back the Clock. B-side, Cracking Up, from Johnny Hates Jazz, by the way. Interestingly, the B-sides on all of these singles were written by... So you've got Clark Datchler just there. Come on, don't be shy. Clark Datchler just there, who wrote most of the group's material. But the other two guys in the group at that time, Calvin Hayes and Mike Nacito, they wrote the B-sides to the singles. You see that Clark's name isn't mentioned there. And they were all instrumentals, which I was a bit bummed about, actually, because when I heard there were 5 or 6 B-sides, I was thinking, oh, that's quite exciting. They're okay, but they're not, great. Another smooth radio classic. This album, is really good. Michael Bolton. How Am I Supposed to Live Without You? What a great track. Brilliant. Forever Eyes on the B-side. Don't know that one. I don't think that certainly wasn't on the album. And there's no mention, so I think that's just a non-album B-side, which is cool. Right. All you Neil Diamond fans have been waiting a while, haven't you? You'll notice this is going A to Z before the 2 surprise ones. How about a little bit of Crackling Rosie? That store-bought woman on the A side. And then on the B side, which I am very much assuming is the live version of Lordy, because I've never heard a studio version of that. I'll have to check that out. So that's a good one. And then, the Jewel in the Crown. No, I won't tell that story first. I'll tell this one. This is going to be one that goes on that shelf, because all the women that come to this house will know what to expect then. One of the best duets of all time. Barbara and Neil You Don't Bring Me Flowers. I was a bit bummed because I've already got this. When I picked up about 30 odd singles from this shop. Yep, I'll have that one. Yep, I'll have that one. Yep, I'll have that one. Not worrying about how many there were. I can trim them down later, and of course this is all what I walked away with. I didn't just go, right, I'm off and not paying. But I looked through Discogs just to check I hadn't got some of this stuff, because I know pretty much the albums I've got. The singles is a little bit more of a grey area, actually. Can't quite remember sometimes. And I went down to Neil Diamond. That one wasn't there. Great, I'll have it. But it was under Barbara and Neil. So Discogs failed me. But there is one, in fact, two good points of difference. You've got the picture sleeve here. My other version is just the generic sleeve. Secondly, which I think is really interesting as a Neil Diamond fan. Yeah, those are the things I was on about for the jukebox 45 adapters, I guess. Right. In very small print, I noticed here, we have You Don't Bring Me Flowers. Will that focus in? Come on, camera. I don't think it's sort of there. It's as close as it's going to get, I think. So this is taken from Barbra Streisand's Greatest Hits Volume 2, which is a great album, by the way. And then from Neil Diamond's The American Popular Song. Now, you'll know if you're a Neil Diamond fan that that's wrong, but for an interesting reason, because that album was meant to be the American Popular Song. A double album, as it happened. It only ended up being a single album because of the success of this single. But I think this was released after. So this one was released... Interesting, this is. It's an interesting conundrum because it's got the CBS catalogue number on there. When you put that into Discogs, it does bring up the You Don't Bring Me Flowers album. So either this was released before the album, and the catalogue numbers are decided way before, which I doubt that's the case. Interesting. Because it says it's from the American Popular Song. Of course, the album ended up being You Don't Bring Me Flowers. And I would have thought it would... Maybe it was quite late on that the change was made. I don't know, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if the change was made that late on to just have the album to be You Don't Bring Me Flowers. A lot of value in this, though. So, to me, emotional value. Not monetary. It's only got 50p on there. Worth every penny. And more. Instrumental of You Don't Bring Me Flowers on the B-side, which isn't quite as impactful, is it? The two solo versions are great, but not as impactful as the duet. Right, I've got this album as well. This is one of the albums I bought, but never played. But I really like this one. We Belong by Pat Benatar. You've got Suburban King on the B-side, which is a short, very short song, I think. 1 minute 57, yeah. Those great blue chrysalis labels. So that's the A-side, We Belong, Suburban King on the B-side. Love Is a Battlefield is my favourite Pat Benatar track. What a track. Speaking of what a track, going back quite a while now, to the 60s. And how about a bit of soul, Motown, girl group stuff? Leader of the Pack by the Shangri-Las. Brilliant. Remember Walking in the Sand on the B-side. Don't know a lot by these girls, but Leader of the Pack, what a song. So you can look into my eyes. That would be an interesting album cover, wouldn't it? A single and it's knocked out. Just a thought. Right. Going back again to a bit of rock. 80s. I did a video a long time ago on Slade. I only know their hits. This is one of them. From the album... oh God, it's failing me. The Amazing Kamikaze Syndrome, released, I believe, in the US as Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply. It's the B-side on this. What about My Oh My? What a brilliant 80s dum ba bum. Brilliant. My oh my. Like The Sun Shines on TV, but not as dramatic in terms of, when the beat drops, if you like, if you're going to be all hip. Great track. Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply on the B-side. Never heard that one. So I'll be interested to see what that sounds like. But my oh my, what a track. As well as Run Run Away. Brilliant. I think I've got Run Run Away on single already. So nice to have those two together. Right, bit of a point of difference here. We have, with the same cover as the album, Cornerstone, Styx, Babe. You know it's you, babe. Whenever I get weird... Alright, shut up now. But this is a Italian pressing. you'll see... well, how did I know it was an Italian pressing? The answer was, I don't think I did. It's not obvious, is it? If you look at the bit where it's not obvious, maybe 45 Giri is Italian. But the font was a bit different to what I'm normally used to, and this is an Italian pressing. In fact, I know where I knew that this was an Italian pressing from. It is the back cover, which is Distribuzione CGD Messaggerie Musicali SPA Milano. And that's about as good as my Italian will get. The small notes at the back of there, of course, from Cornerstone by Styx. Right, we're getting near the end now because we're at S. Had a great time having a little yap about these. I haven't played a lot of them yet. I've played a few. And really enjoyed that. How about another group I don't know a lot by at all? What about women earlier? Take a look at My Girlfriend. She's the only one I've got. Breakfast in America from that album. Gone Hollywood and the B-side. Both songs written by an R. Davison and R. Hodgson. Now, I don't know a lot about Supertramp, but was Roy Hodgson in Supertramp? Interesting career move. Those who don't know Roy Hodgson will probably be going blank now, but you should do really, because he was England's football manager, so you should be aware of him. Bit of country. This is probably as varied as this gets. Brilliant A-side and B-side. Didn't Motorhead do a version of this with Wendy O. Williams, which meant that Fast Eddie Clarke left the band? Stand by your mon, as we'd say in these parts. And then on the B-side, Your Good Girl's Gonna Go Bad. Great. Both sides of great music. Right, we've got a couple left before we get to the surprise features. How about a bit of Tin Lizzy, but the B-side of this? So, on Decca Records, I know that definitely the first one was, I'm sure the B-side is as well. So, you're all going to fall asleep. Whiskey in the Jar. Actually, it's a great track. But, it's all about the B-side, which is Black Boys on the Corner. A menacing, heavy Eric Bell sound. The first few Lizzy albums aren't my cup of tea, but I do like Eric Bell's guitar sound, great. And Black Boys on the Corner. This should have been a big song, much like Lizzy's whole career, really. But a brilliant song. It's that, I think that it gets Phil almost a bit of attitude maybe for the first time, a bit of that swagger. Rock and roll swagger that he had later on. And this is very early on. Black Boys on the Corner. I've just had that one on. What a track. What a track. Whiskey in the Jar's good, but it's all about the B-side. Right. We end this. I've played this morning and I maybe don't love it as much as I thought. No. Not love. Maybe I don't enjoy it quite as much as I thought. So. Can't believe I've even got this, but I'm past caring. It's all what I like. Are we ready? I thought this was a lot later, by the way. 1985. Whitney Houston. Saving All My Love For You. Another smooth radio pick. Not quite as good as I thought it was. But a good track nonetheless. But we'll gloss over it quite quickly. And then the final one. A little bit like Barbara and Neil. Discogs has completely failed me here. Because I got this in my collection. I don't know why Discogs didn't bring it up yesterday. I had an inkling I'd already got it. Another Supertramp one, the Logical songs. I've already got this. That's a bit of a bummer. This is the only one that doesn't provide any more value. Right, before we go on to the two bonus ones. So, you knew it was £1.50 for the UFO album. There are, I believe, 24 singles here. The woman at the counter said there was 23. It was free for X. These ended up being £8 for the lot. Free for £1. Free for £1 British pound. Three records for £1. You can't complain at that value, can you? You know, all this wedge of records for that little price. Awesome. And for those of you going, no, that's wrong, that can't be the case. I've got my receipt, which I will chuck away later. I wasn't bothered about having the receipt, but the lovely lady behind the counter wanted to give it to me, the receipt, and as you can see, £9.50. I'm not going to put the top half of that receipt on because it's got the last 4 digits of my card because I had to put my pin in. £9.50. Walked away with all that with spending less than a tenner. previous day before that. Seems to be like there's vinyl everywhere. I don't want to leave the house today because I might buy more. Right. How's about this then? I was on about earlier that one of the incentives of singles is the B-side. And funnily enough, on Wednesday I made a note about I have got Bruce Springsteen's tracks, the 18 tracks, which is, I think, 18 non-album tracks, which I haven't listened to. I'd quite like to listen to that. And then I found this in a charity shop Wednesday, sorry, not yesterday, Wednesday. This was another one. So I've left that shop 24 hours earlier. Dancing in the Dark. Now, I'm always a bit of a contrarian, normally. But this is one of Bruce's most popular, and this is absolute killer. Awesome. You've got the lyrics on the back as well, which I think is a nice touch. And then on the B-side, we have Pink Cadillac, and it says, this song does not appear on the Born in the USA album. And I listened to it for the first time last night, one of those non-album tracks. And it's good. It's almost got a Ramrod vibe from the last album. Really fun vibe. Maybe a little bit basic, but fun nevertheless. And then if I hadn't bought all this yesterday, this would have been by far the highlight of my week, because I've never seen this before. And I am very intrigued to go and listen to it. So the first two songs on this were recorded live at Dublin RDS Hall on the 7th of June 1980. And the B-side... What did it say? Side A, side A. It says side A on both. That's weird. Is it a double A side? A1 and A2. Because you can't have a B-side. You can't have a... You could have side 1 and 2, but you can't have a B-rate side. By the way, on side A2, was recorded live at Seneca College Fieldhouse, Toronto, 28th of October 1977. To give you more of a clue, on lead guitars, Scott Gorham and Brian Robertson. On drums, Brian Downey. And on bass guitar and vocals, Mr. Philip Lynott. Lynott's just how it swings off the tongue for me. If you're offended, I'm very sorry. Thin Lizzy, Killers, live. Are You Ready? And Dear Miss Lonely Hearts on the A side. Bad Reputation on the B side. I've never seen this before. We've got Live and Dangerous. We've got Life Live. We've got the UK Tour 75. We've had some other box sets which I haven't dipped into, apart from Johnny and Soldier of Fortune from the Live and Dangerous box set, because those are different tracks which didn't appear on the original album. But this is a point of difference, and I haven't played it yet. Great front cover. Unfortunately, the 50p mark is covering Phil. But this just shows that I decided to go through the singles rack at this charity shop, which is something I do or don't do. The last time I went into that other charity shop, which I had that great haul from, I just had a look at the CDs and came out, as I said. This time, they'd got singles everywhere. Couldn't move for singles, so I had a look through. Did me back in a bit, so I had to sit down on the floor and do it that way then. Spent a good hour in that shop. And it consumed £9.50 of my good British pounds. There's no way I could have condensed that into 3 minutes. How long have we been going for? Nearly half an hour, blimey. Yikes. Well, if you've stayed for that long, I very much appreciate it. I suppose these longer videos are all good for the watch time, aren't they? But I thought it was good to get it off my chest. I'd have no way I'd have got through that in 3 minutes. I was thinking maybe, do the few of the highlights. No, it would have took me much longer than 3 minutes just to do that. So I've kept you long enough, but, you know, what a great haul this is. And it's not about quantity. It's not. But at that price, £3 for £1, it's almost like dip your bread. And I thought on the way home yesterday, could I have just bought one good album for £10? Yeah. But equally, I can have a lot of good time with these singles. I got back into them last year. I got some singles given to me by a relative. More sort of 50s, 60s, early 70s stuff, more poppy stuff. This obviously is a collection that has been chosen by me. There were stacks of stuff in there. Some of the stuff might have been your cup of tea, might not have been my cup of tea. And just sitting and listening to those singles, it's so easy now to just... In fact, I could do it in about 10 seconds. I could click on Spotify, search for a song, and it could be playing. But there's something different about the physical product, and in this way, about the singles. I felt compelled to do that. So if you'd like to see more stuff of me buying things, which I don't intend to do all that often, I don't intend to spend much money. The whole mantra is appreciating the music that you already have. I've already got some of this, but it's nice to have it as a standalone release And I'm not going to keep you any longer. If you've enjoyed that, please, all the good stuff down below. Like, comment, share to somebody who might be interested in this. And it would be great if you could consider subscribing. We are aiming for that 1,000 mark. We're a bit of a way off it at the moment, but I think with some momentum, we might well get there. And you know what the most important thing is? I've got the music on, and the summer is here. It's glorious. It's really nice. Beautiful stuff. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.